Itch it up, my selector.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know you gonna dig this.
And happy Saturday. Welcome back, everyone. This is Maestro with my comrade, my brother, Mr. Joe Habib. Listen, we decided to do a sucker punch. You know, we brought back the old sucker punch because, look, we were the only ones talking about Ukraine and Russia and you know, speaking about it in a way that I think was factual and was counter to the narratives of the mainstream media. We're the only ones talking about the mandates here on the YouTube boxing community scene, all right, in a way that was counter to the narratives out there on the mainstream. So why not keep it consistent, Joe, and keep it going as we talk about Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia? I've looked high, I've looked low. I've looked east, I've looked west, Joe, out here on YouTube. I've been watching Max on Boxing week after week on ESPN and ESPN Plus. I haven't heard anybody say what we've been saying about this Tank Davis fight. Happy Saturday, Joe. You take it from here, boss.
Well, I tweeted out a couple of days ago that still no venues, still no press conference scheduled, and still not on the PBC or Showtime website under upcoming fights. Is Davis Garcia really official? And then some gentleman sends me this fan-made poster, says, "You betcha." And I said, where? In the parking lot? Still needs a venue, not a fan-made poster. And then he says it was sent by an official account that was at Steven Espinosa, retweeted at any rate. Basically, he added Steven Espinosa because, once again, you know, strength in numbers, right? He's looking for help in this discussion, and he had it at Steven Espinosa, hoping that Steven Espinosa would throw him a lifeline.
In debate, that's called an appeal to authority. It's when you don't have enough material on your own, so you got to appeal to somebody who's assumed to be an authority figure on the topic because you can't handle it yourself. But go ahead, Joe.
So then he replies and he ats me and he ats Steven Espinosa again, this gentleman. He said, and he shows me this article from Keith Idek from like almost a month ago. It says Gervonta Davis Ryan Garcia fight has been pushed back 1 week from April 15th to April 22nd. It'll still be held in Las Vegas, but venue hasn't been solidified yet. It says MGM Grand and Allegiant Stadium are the lead venues. How would Keith Idek know? I mean, he has no quotes in there from anybody. He's basically speculating, right? So I replied, still no confirmation. You would think that it would be important with 7 weeks to go. When Benavidez' plant was announced, the venue was set and it was up on the website. Why not this fight? Idek is just assuming where it will be. No one actually said anything. And then Stephen Espinosa decides to jump in, and he says the venue hasn't been confirmed to anybody because it hasn't been determined. Tough to lock in a venue deal on a non-in-house fight when you don't have a signed agreement. So what do you mean by the fact that you don't have a signed agreement? Basically, so what did these guys sign? Was it a letter of intent that is actually non-binding? Because to sign an official contract, you would have to have the details of the fight, right? You would have to have the financial information on there, and you would have to have the location, and most certainly you would have to have a venue on that contract. So, and then he goes to say, oh, well, most pay-per-view fights are signed, contracts are signed without a venue in place. Really? Not many that I've heard of. And again, I'm not manager. I'm not in the room when they do these contracts, but from what I've understood and from what I've seen looking at data, the biggest fights in the history of the sport, we always had a venue, and we always had press conferences, and we always had ample promotion before these big events, right? That was the normal protocol and practice. We saw, many of the big fights. We can go down the list. De La Hoya, Floyd McGregor did that press tour. Pacquiao Mayweather did that press tour, right? Canelo had that press conferences when he was fighting Plant. David Benavidez and Caleb Plant did a press conference, right? So all these big fights in history, right, have always had press conferences. They've always had a venue locked in. So why are they not? If this is supposed to be supposedly this huge fight, then why aren't they treating this like a big fight, right? And now the new narrative is, oh, we don't need to promote these fights anymore. We can just have social media promote the fight for us. The fighters can go on social media. We can promote this fight through TikTok. I haven't really seen too much on TikTok. I don't know if you've gone on TikTok.
No, I'm not on TikTok. My students are on TikTok, my middle school kids. Yeah. And last time I checked, they don't spend money on boxing. So
yeah. And here's the thing too. So Jake Paul has probably one of the largest social media followings out there, right? He's a huge social media star. Ryan Garcia is a huge social media star. Tank's got a pretty good following on social media, right? But we're hearing now that this Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight, Jake Paul's saying 500,000 pay-per-view buys, but now we're hearing numbers as low as 200,000. So as you just alluded to, just because you have a following on social media, does that translate into pay-per-view buys? Are those young kids, as you said, are they buying the pay-per-views? So, we have to question if this is such a big fight as we're told it is, right? This is supposed to be such a mega fight, right? Why is it being handled in a way that suggests that it's anything but a mega fight? There's no promotion behind it. You would think, and then he used this example. Oh, well, Harrison versus Zoo didn't have a venue till 5 weeks out, which he was incorrect. It was basically 6 weeks out. But here's what he forgot. Here's what he forgot to tell you. There were arenas openly bidding for the fight, right? So you knew people were bidding for the fight, right? And Harrison was actually a replacement. So they threw that fight together quickly. But that's not a mega fight, and it's not being billed or marketed as a mega fight. With all due respect to Harrison, that is, an in-between fight for Zoo.
Tim Zoo's called it a tune-up. His words, not mine. Yeah, he said he didn't want to wait for Charlo, and that this was a tune-up. Yeah. One quick interjection, though, Joe, and then continue, please. Didn't Tyson Fury have an agreement to fight AJ? Yes. In principle, on paper? What happened to that?
Didn't happen.
So we've had agreements, right, where fights are supposed to take place, and then where fights have not happened. And I'm going to go over the boxing schedule in a moment, and we're going to show it visually for all my visual learners out there. But it's no venues on the schedule for this quote-unquote mega fight, this super fight. Go ahead, Joe.
And it's ironic, too, because you hear Steven Espinosa criticize Eddie Hearn when Eddie Hearn plays that woe is me, has that Tupac syndrome, like, the world is against me, right? Everyone's against me. All odds are against me and on this. So now he's playing this card. Oh, well, he's on this interview with Fight Hub. He's like, well, people have an agenda. They want this event to fail. They want to see Showtime Boxing fail, whether they have a problem with me or they have a problem with PBC. You have a lot of detractors out there who just don't want to see PBC or Showtime Boxing succeed. No, we want to hold PBC and Showtime Boxing accountable. We are being charged money for these pay-per-views, so we want a specific quality of fight. So we're just basically critiquing the fights, and you're charging an amount for a fight, and a lot of times people are chiming in saying that the quality of fight that we have is not worth the price. But again, me being who I am, I'm a hypocrite. I buy them all, so it doesn't matter. I'm a sucker. I'm one of those guys who got locked in, right? But I can still say, by looking at other fights that I've spent my pay-per-view dollars on, I can compare and contrast the fights. And I've spent money for pay-per-views my whole life, and the fights I'm getting now, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I never would have had to pay a pay-per-view price for them because they would have been on regular HBO or ESPN or something similar to that. So again, we're giving you an honest opinion. And what a slap in the face to the fans that you don't have the venue set. And the longer you take to have the venue set, the shorter window you have to have tickets go on sale. And people want to organize who want to go to this event. They want to, D-Style mentioned this, they want to be able to prepare and plan for this event, not at the last minute, because you want to be able to get your hotel, your flight, right? You want to be able to get time off from work if need be. And you are cutting that window close for the fans. And how arrogant and pompous and condescending can you be, Mr. Espinosa, to think that you're going to just put these tickets on sale 5 weeks out, 4 weeks out, and you're going to snap your fingers and you're going to sell out the arena. And then you're having people out there saying, well, it could either be Allegiant Stadium or T-Mobile Arena. There's no way on God's green earth this fight can ever be in Allegiant Stadium. This is not going to be the inaugural boxing event for Allegiant Stadium. That's a 65,000 seat arena. And let's just be generous and say we'll scale it back to 40,000 like they did for Spence Garcia. Are you that arrogant to think that in 4 to 5 weeks' time you're going to be able to sell out 40,000 seat arena? Right? That's ludicrous. So you go from one extreme with 65,000 to 21,000. Like, where is the comparison there? They're not even comparable, those two arenas. So why would they be on the same plane here, the same level playing field here? They're not even on the same stratosphere, those two arenas. So why would you mention them in the same breath?
Joe,
they're two entirely different arenas.
Joe, AJ's going to fight at your call. No, wait a second. He's going to fight at the O2. No, wait a second. He's going to fight at Wembley Arena. No, wait a second. He's going to fight at Wembley Stadium. Does that sound about right to you?
Does not.
I mean, I don't think anybody else was out there. I was doubtful about whether the Katie Taylor fight was going to be happening with Amanda Serrano. As soon as I heard that it was at the quote unquote 3 Arena, which is a music amphitheater in Dublin, and not at a stadium. I was like, this fight probably ain't gonna happen. Lo and behold, a couple weeks later, Amanda Serrano has an injury. The fight's not gonna happen. But I asked in your chat, and by the way, is the mic okay? Because there's a thing in the chat saying a little hot, so I turned down the volume. Thank you, Papa Chubby. So, I was in your chat last week when you were talking about this, and I asked people, how many of you will actually book a hotel or book a flight? A lot of people these days, they buy flights on Kayak and on Priceline. Those are non-refundable. Refundable plane tickets are actually very expensive. Most people buy non-refundable because they're the ones that are appropriately priced. How many people are going to be buying hotel or booking hotel rooms or buying plane tickets based on the announcements so far? I wouldn't. Look, you guys may not know this, but I'll tell you the truth. Most people that are out here doing this YouTube boxing thing, we don't do that as a full-time job. I'm a proud union man. I'm a public school teacher. All right. Joe is a proud union man. He's also a municipal worker. This is what we do on the side. And by the way, I'm going to tell you guys this too. A lot of people you read, a lot of people you watch their YouTube channels. Most of these guys aren't making a lot of money doing this. Because most of them aren't working for the corporate outlets that will cover their room and cover their board and cover their travel expenses. So for this to be going on the way it's going on, I mean, we're the people covering the sport, not the New York Times, not the LA Times, not USA Today. Trust me, I'm on press row for these fights. Those outlets aren't out there. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC are not showing up and covering these fights. Regular working class people are. People that need to schedule travel and budget expenses. Am I way off here, Joe?
Not at all. Not at all. And it's a slap in the face to all those people to have to cut it so close like this and make them scramble around and have to plan this way.
Right. And then I'm seeing a news report the other day saying that this is going to be promoted now in a different way. They're not going to do a press tour, right? They're going to rely on social media promotion of this point, of this fight. Well, I mean, there was no press conference with the two combatants when they announced the fight. Usually that happens at the same time they announce the fight. They have the press conference with the two guys or shortly thereafter, right? When Plant and Benavidez was announced, didn't they do a press conference, Joe? Or did I just dream that? Maybe I was dreaming when I saw that, right? Well, where's the press conference for this?
Plant Benavidez is considered a smaller fight than this, but yet they had the venue set. Right. Yet they had the press conference scheduled on January 25th, which was 2 months out from the March 25th. It was up on the Showtime website schedule. It was up on the Premier Boxing Champion website schedule. So there's a channel here on TikTok. It's called Tank versus King Ray. Right. And I'm looking at it here, and it's all this is a Davis Garcia has like the little poster of them, and I open this thing up, and it has two people in here, 27 comments, 160 likes. 2,803 likes, 27 comments, and 88 shares. And this is on February 17th. Right. So is this your strategy? And here's the promotion. They're showing highlights of previous fights. I mean, this is how you promote a fight. Anyone can go on YouTube and see all this stuff. Like, is this how you promote a fight? So if this is the attention that's supposed to generate 500,000 pay-per-view buys when you had a video up for almost 2.5-3 weeks, right? and you only got 2,803 likes and 27 comments and 88 shares, right? That's not very promising to me. I don't see that much on here at all. I don't see that much here at all.
Look, my middle school students, they're on TikTok. They're out there doing their little videos. They're supposed to turn in their phones at the beginning of the day. They don't. Some of them, they're recording their little dances and stuff, watching TikTok. Are they going to buy this fight, Joe?
No.
Or grown men, typically the people that are going to buy these fights, right? Who's going to buy the fight? A 13-year-old middle school on TikTok? Are they going to travel out to this fight? Or are grown men and women going to travel out to this fight and attend the fight live in person? Because if you're trying to get grown people to plan to attend this fight or to watch this fight is right around the corner. Like what is going on? Let me just show the schedule real quick, Joe, so people can actually see what we're talking about here. We've got Angel Fierro and Eduardo Estela. And by the way, we can go in on the DAZN schedule later. But
that's the zone. That's the zone.
But it's at the Polideportivo Arena in Culiacan, right? They're announcing the venue. Brandon Figueroa, Mark Magsayo, of course, the venue. These are people that say, but Maestro, these are this weekend's. Okay, well, let's go down later, right? Let's go all the way to April, right? Fundora Mendoza, that's on Showtime. We know it's at the Dignity Health Sports Park, right? Joyce and Zilai Zhang, that's at Copper Box. Wasn't that announced?
Yes.
Wasn't the venue announced when they announced that fight?
Yeah,
we got Rakimov and Cordina the same day, April 22nd. We know it's at the Cardiff International Arena in Cardiff. Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, TBA, Las Vegas. We go further and we see College Park Center, Arlington, Texas for Ortiz Stanionis, right? Then we go all the way to June 24th, and we know that Carlos Adames is facing Julian Williams again on Showtime at the Armory in Minneapolis, but yet there's nothing for April the 22nd, right? Right. Make that make sense.
We're being called haters. We don't want the fight to happen. No, we just don't want the bullshit. If the fights, D-Style asked Steven Espinosa on Twitter. He said, can you guarantee this fight is going to happen? And Steven Espinosa did not answer. And by reading the article that was quote tweeted to me and not having any quotes from anybody in there that has a say in this fight, whether it be Showtime or any promoters, like in terms of solidifying the date, not the date, excuse me, the venue here, it's just not very encouraging, right? It's not very encouraging. It's very unequivocal. No one's really guaranteeing anything, right? And then by him saying what he said, well, when it's not an in-house fight, it's hard to get things signed. So they don't have anyone on board yet. So then I asked him, I said, so who's the front runner for this fight? And he wouldn't answer me. He's giving himself an out by showing me articles of people like Keith Eidick who just speculated and didn't have any official quotes in there, right? Steven Espinosa has never said in an interview that, well, it could be here. Like even with Tyson Fury, okay, if it's in the UK, we're going to do it in Wembley. If it's in Saudi, we're going to do it in a ready-made arena in Saudi, right? In the dunes, whatever. But in this case, everyone is so non-committal. They're not giving us any confidence in anything they say, right? And the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. So they need to really, and again, this is a disservice to the fighters as well, because you're not promoting the fight. You're not doing anything to promote the fight, right? And then Tank is going to get sentenced in May 5th, right? So are these guys even training right now? I mean, at Super Bowl weekend, we're seeing Tank in a wheelchair. It's ridiculous. You're on mute, Maestro.
Yeah, sorry, I was just saying. Yeah, I was about to ask that. Wasn't he in the wheelchair the other day?
Wheelchair.
But again, my question is why is there like a media blackout on this?
Yeah.
Why isn't anyone asking these questions? I just don't get it.
Because people that do this for a living, and I'm going to say it, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. They like to talk about this because it's basically clickbait for them, and it puts food on the table. I understand. They don't. If you say what we're saying, you get blackballed. You can't go to PBC events, right? I don't give a fuck if I get credentialed to a PBC event. I really don't. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, the last time I wasn't credentialed for a PBC event, I showed up front row with my camera and with my mics. Yeah. I mean, I get my own ticket if need be. I was literally there front row and center for the David Morrell Jr. fight at the Armory. That was the last time I applied and didn't get accredited. But I was told that moving forward, I'll be accredited. I just need to contact a certain person, which I will do. So, again, I'm the type of guy that would have gone out for Tank versus Ryan. But like I said earlier, most people who have YouTube channels don't do this full-time. I'm a full-time public school teacher. I'm a union man. Joe's a civil servant. He's a union man. And unless we have ample, I wouldn't say warning, but, information ahead of time, we can't plan to attend these fights. And the same goes with your fans. Because the paying boxing public is not consuming boxing on Instagram and TikTok. I'm sorry. They're just not. By the way, Instagram is like majority female, YouTube is majority male, and TikTok is majority kids. So explain to me how it makes sense to just do TikTok and Instagram, Joe.
Makes no sense, bro. It makes no sense. This whole notion, and everyone thinks Jake Paul is like, again, no disrespect to Jake Paul. He's making his money. He's doing what he got to do. But Showtime let him go. Like, he had that deal with Showtime. They let him go. Why'd they let him go over to ESPN? Why they cut him loose? Apparently he wasn't doing numbers. If he was doing numbers, they wouldn't have let him go. Now I'm hearing that this fight only did 200,000 pay-per-view buys. So, and we've talked about, this, what people are starting to do now is people are starting to have these fight parties, and you got one guy buying the pay-per-view and like 5 or 6 people go there, right? I talked to my friend of mine that I usually go out to dinner with, and he was telling me like, oh yeah, I share my subscriptions with people, and they share subscriptions with me. I give people my Disney Plus login, they give me their Netflix login, blah blah blah. Who's to say that's not being done with ESPN? ESPN Plus pay, people one person buying a pay-per-view and giving the login to 3 different people, and then they can all watch it at the same time, right? Who's to say that's not happening? Right? So these people got to get smart, man. They got to get smart, and they really, really, really need to start making a concerted effort to cater to the fans a little bit better than they are. Because, again, the closer you cut this, the worse it's going to be for the promotion of this fight, and it's going to be for your attendance. He is very, and then he turns around and says to me, goes ad hominem on me.
Who's he, by the way? Be specific.
Steven Espinosa, excuse me. He turns around and says to me, Mr. Espinosa does, do you even follow boxing? And you know what I told him? I said, yeah, I follow it a little bit too much. Do you want to see my cable bill? I've purchased every single one of your pay-per-views. You're welcome. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you've literally purchased all of them. Like at the beginning, you started last year off with Charles Martin taking on No, that was actually an FS1. That was a Fox Sports card. But point still stands. I know for a fact that you're buying these pay-per-views.
Yeah, I bought Luis Ortiz versus.
That's what I was going to say. Charles Martin, Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz. Yeah.
Andy Ruiz. Yeah, I bought that.
I mean, you bought almost all the PBC pay-per-views, whether they're on Showtime or on Fox.
I'll show him my cable bill.
The ones that I haven't purchased, I've literally attended at the Barclays, at the Minneapolis Armory, right? At various venues. So like we're two working men, union men, civil servant men that are consumers of the sport, in addition to be people that talk about the sport on YouTube. So I mean, I'm just asking for a little respect of the working man here. That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
I mean, we're weeks away from this fight. I would like some information. What's going on? And for those of you that do get paid full time to do this, why aren't you asking these questions?
And here's another thing, brother. No one's really doing YouTube videos about it. Like no one's you know, a lot when the fight is signed. People will start doing breakdowns about the fight, who's going to win. So-and-so said this, so-and-so said. And here's another thing. Neither fighter's talking. They're not doing interviews. They're like what is the plan here? What is the plan here? Like, give Jake Paul and Tommy Fury credit. They promoted the hell out of that fight. Both of those guys promoted the hell out of that fight.
Especially Jake Paul. And by the way, Jake Paul has more social media numbers than Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia combined.
And allegedly he only did 200,000 pay-per-view buys.
Right.
What does that tell you?
Exactly. So if the model is we're just going to promote this on Instagram and TikTok and fuck the YouTubers, fuck the guys that analyze this stuff online on their channels, fuck the people that need to, book time off work or schedule things with their families, with their wives, with their children, right? Or husbands if they're females and kids, right? Who need to budget travel, right? I mean, what's going on here, people? What's going on? I mean, I have Saturday and Sunday off work. I don't know what you did. I know what I'm being facetious. I know you're the same way, Joe, right? So if you want to take off a Friday, you need ample warning.
Yeah, you need time.
Right? If you want to take off a Monday to help you travel back from Vegas, you need ample warning.
And see, Steven Espinosa, with his narcissistic attitude about the whole thing, making it all about him. Oh, well, they just don't like me. They don't like Showtime. They don't like PBC. They don't like us. That's why they're complaining.
No, I've met Steven. I've met him in person. I like him. He's a nice guy. I always treat him respectfully, and it's the same bag. I just want some advance warning so that I can budget. Guess what? I'm not a millionaire or a billionaire, right? I'm a guy with a job. It's not 9 to 5. It's more like 6:30 to 2:30, but same thing. Because we got boxing before school in my school. I mean, I just want some forewarning. I just want to know if I should book hotel and travel. I just want to know, in anticipation, so that I can tell my wife, guess what? I won't be in New York City that weekend. Steven. So that I can take a personal day at work so that I can attend the weigh-in or attend the press conference or fly back from Vegas. Is that too much to ask?
Not at all. And Steven, if I disliked you, or if I disliked Showtime, or if I disliked PBC, then why do I have receipts for every single pay-per-view? There's not a pay-per-view that you've put on that I have not bought. That I have not bought. So if I didn't like you, why would I put money into the company you work for? Why would I put money into the company you work for? Why would I buy the fights? Why would I buy PPZ events? Or talk about them? That's what you were about to say.
I was about to say, or talk about them. I mean, you were glowing in your reviews of Matias Ponce. You thought it was a great fight.
It's a phenomenal fight. When you
were we not both looking forward to that fight? I don't have anything against the PBC or Showtime.
I love the Benavides Plant fight. I fucking love it. I love that fight. I don't hate that fight.
No.
I love this fight. Today's a great fight we're having today with friggin'
Brandon Figueroa and Mark Magsayo.
Figueroa and Magsayo. I love that fight tonight.
Right? It's a 50-50 fight. You've got a guy with defensive liabilities who's moving up in weight against a guy who's a former world champion and who on paper beat Gary Russell Jr. and lost to a guy that I rate rather highly in Ray Vargas. I mean, it is a good fight where the winner of the fight is not a predetermined outcome. I'm really looking forward to it.
My whole thing is this. Stop shitting on the fans. All right? The fans deserve an explanation on what the fuck is going on.
And the funny thing is, it's like, oh, my so you hate on the PBC. No, I don't. Oh, my so you hate on DAZN. No, I don't. But I have an outlet. I've got a channel. Yeah, it's not the greatest. It's not the biggest, but we're like the little engine that could over here. Chugga, 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 choo, choo. Like, we're trying to get bigger. And at the end of the day, if I don't like something, I'm going to talk about it. If I like something, I'm going to talk about it. And I don't like the fact that weeks away from a fight that I would actually like to cover for my subs, for my members, for the people that watch our content. And by the way, I get offered all the time to cover shit for bigger outlets as well. So even if I wanted to do that, I need time to know what's going on. And all it makes me do, Joe, is doubt whether or not this is happening.
Yeah, I don't think it. I really.
I'm sorry. I doubt it. I'm very doubtful. I'm doubtful about this.
I'm skeptical, bro.
Very doubtful. So next one that's kind of up in the air, Joe. And again, if anybody wants to join us, phone lines are open. Okay, you can join us to talk. I've opened up the phone line, numbers 718 because we're in the Bronx, 618-4284, and you can also join us live here. I'm dropping the link there in the chat so that everybody can see it. You can join us live. The other thing that I'm really starting to ask questions about now, and I'll let you take the lead on this first, Joe, is this fight that's, it's been rumored to take place. We're talking about the undisputed championship of the world in the most significant division in boxing. Sorry, guys, it's always going to be the heavyweight division. Is this fight going back to Saudi? What's going on, Joe? What's going on with Usyk and Tyson Fury?
You saw Tyson Fury in Saudi, obviously supporting his brother for his fight with Jake Paul. But when you did see Tyson Fury, you didn't see Prince Khalid too far away from him, or someone from Skills Challenge too far away from him. Everywhere Tyson Fury went, he had someone from either Skills Challenge or someone from the, someone affiliated with the royal family, whether it was Prince Khalid's children, Prince Khalid himself. And what you heard from the Fury family, right? And not only the Fury family, from everyone there, but particularly the Fury family, John Fury, Tommy Fury, and Tyson Fury. How many times did they keep thanking Prince Khalid, Prince Khalid, Prince Khalid? So for Tyson Fury to be flown out there, right? And Mike Tyson to be flown out there, Devin Haney to be flown out there, I don't think that was by coincidence. So I think that Saudi's back on the table. I do believe that some type of business was being talked about in regards to this Usyk Tyson Fury fight. And I do think that maybe Saudi is having second thoughts, and maybe they will come closer or maybe match what Tyson Fury wants. Because from what was being reported, Saudi was dealing with Fury and Usyk separately. They had a specific financial deal for Usyk, and they had a specific financial deal for Fury. From what was reported, Usyk agreed on his deal. I think Tyson Fury had some issues with him, according to what reports were. I don't know how factual that is, but now maybe they're opening up the talks again. Now maybe they are going to give Tyson Fury a chance, because we're not hearing too much of this Wembley venue anymore, right? We're not hearing it's been solidified. There's nothing has really. I'm not even sure if Wembley's been reserved for April 29th or not. That hasn't been reported. So, and then we heard Frank Warren say that there's going to be some type of decision made very shortly, possibly by the end of this following week coming up. So I do believe that we may, and I'm kind of thinking and speculating and suggesting that I believe that this fight will happen, and it will happen in Saudi. Now, will it still be on that April 29th date? Maybe not. Maybe they'll push it back a couple of weeks or, to May instead of April 29th. But I do believe that Saudi is possibly back in this picture, right? And I do think that they may get Tyson Fury on board with this. I think Usyk's already satisfied with what Saudi had to offer, and they just got to tighten up this deal with Fury, and I think it'll be a go. So I'm pretty optimistic about the Fury. I was a little bit scared and skeptical, but now that I saw Tyson Fury down there, I saw him with his arm around Prince Khalid. I saw him taking pictures with Prince Khalid's kids. The guy from Skills Challenge, with all due respect, I forget his name. He was talking to Fury a lot. So Fury was always had somebody of importance around him throughout that whole trip. Right? Every time there was a picture taken, he was with somebody important down there. So that leads me to believe that maybe something's close to happen, and I think Saudi's back in the picture, in my opinion.
I mean, as you can see in the photo there, Joe, I mean, he's being very well received by the Saudis. They have their phones out recording him. They're there, surrounding him like he's a rock star. I mean, why wouldn't they? He's the Gypsy King. He's Tyson Fury. He's the number one fighter in the sport, the heavyweight champion of the world. So, I mean, this is what I've thought on this for a while now. While meaning about the past month. And we've talked about this at length, Joe, on the phone, and through text. I just don't believe the numbers from the AJ fights that were being reported. I think that Usyk went into his negotiations with the Saudis as those reported AJ numbers as his starting point in the negotiation. And when what he was receiving back as offers wasn't in line with what was being reported about AJ, he's like, well, I might as well just fight at Wembley, I guess. I mean, I've got other options. And as it relates to Usyk, he knows what he was actually paid by the Saudis when he fought Joshua in the second fight in the rematch. So when he's offered the equivalent of that, which is probably, I don't know, half of what was reported in the media, he's accepting it because he knows what he was paid last time, whereas Fury doesn't know what AJ and Usyk were paid last time, and he's probably going off of what was reported out there, and what was reported out there was probably not true. But the problem with this fight taking place, Joe, in the UK is that Usyk, and I spoke to Base the Kid, shout out to Base about this, Usyk doesn't move the needle in the UK that much more than a Chisora or a Dillian White. I mean, I just don't think that he does. Not maybe, 20% more, 15% more, 10% more, but not 100% more. So, I mean, not 50% more, not 30% more. So the amount of pay-per-views you need to sell in the UK to pay Usyk 4 times, 5 times, 6 times what Derek Chisora made, or 3 times what Dillian White made, that money just isn't out there. No, I know that's not what you said, Base. That's what I'm saying. I know that's not what you said, Base. I'm not quoting you. I'm quoting myself in our conversations. Base does think that Usyk moves the needle. I've thought about it a bit. I don't really think he does. I honestly don't really think Usyk moves the needle against anyone other than Fury and maybe Wilder at this point. I don't think that AJ Usyk 3 is a very sellable fight. And to be honest, I don't know how much of a star AJ is at this point, because all of the people I know out there in the UK that I've talked to about this, and people have been texting me telling me that fight's not selling. Jermaine Franklin and AJ is not doing great business at the O2 right now in terms of the ticket sales. I don't think so. I don't think Usyk is a needle mover outside of a couple of fights. I don't think he's a needle mover against Daniel Dubois. I don't think he's a needle mover against Joe Joyce. Henceforth, I think that he's probably going to have to get his biggest paydays in Saudi. That's what I want to think. That's what I think. And by the way, the floor is open to you, Base, if you want to come in here and join us and give us your side. Because again, I wasn't saying what you said. I was saying what I said when I spoke to you over the phone the other day. But go for it, Joe.
Yeah, I think unless Usyk's fighting Joshua, well, you can't. Maybe not even Joshua. That fight probably doesn't move the needle anymore because they've already seen it twice and Usyk beat Joshua twice. But I think right now it's either Fury or Wilder for Usyk. Anything else is going to be a dramatic letdown, right? So Usyk is not in a position of power here. You know, I know he has the belts, right? I know he has the belts, and Undisputed's a big thing, and that's the story of the fight, quote unquote, as Max Kellerman would say, the story of the fight, right? Because we haven't had an undisputed champ. I think the last time was Lennox Lewis, and how many years ago was that? I think it was like 20. How many years? When did Lennox Lewis officially become undisputed? 19? Was it 19? It's like 99.
I was about to say 99. It was like the late 1990s.
Yeah, like 1999. So it's over 20 years, right? So
it's definitely over 20 years.
That's the story of the fight. But Fury does have a couple different directions he can go in. Base made a good point. The Ngannou fight, I think, if you put it in Saudi, would definitely sell. I think that would be a good fight.
If Eddie was smart, he would have sent Joshua that way. It would have sold more than Franklin's selling right now. Franklin is not a sellable opponent. I said that from the beginning.
No. So I've actually heard that it's Wilder and Ngannou that could be possibly next in Saudi.
That's the fight. That's the fight that makes the most sense for Ngannou.
Style wise, that's a better fight for Ngannou. Style wise, that's a better fight for the fans from an aesthetic visual purpose. I mean, that's a more exciting fight, right? So I think you're probably more likely to see Wilder versus Ngannou than Fury versus Ngannou, right? I'm not ruling it out either way, but I do think that Usyk is kind of his back's up against the wall here, and he has a decision to make: fight Hrgovic or fight friggin' Fury. And if he fights Hrgovic, that's a very it's a $5 million payday at most for Usyk against Hrgovic. I'm sorry. I've thought about it, guys. I'm sorry. I don't think Base agrees with me though. Base the kid, not the hardcore casual, but it's tough when I don't agree with a guy's nickname.
No, I am the hardcore casual. I got called a fraud on the round table last night. Or
what?
I got called a fraud.
Who said that? I'm about to make a video. Who said that?
Some guy called Zeke the Sneak, just because I hadn't seen a lot of the Brandon Figueroa and Mark McSiel fights.
You can't take the opinions of cartoon characters seriously, bro. Look at it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. Apparently, I don't watch the lower weight classes, so I'm a fraud.
My man Base watches the lower weight classes. My man Base texts me back and forth about the lower weight classes. My man Base has been on my channel. By the way, hit the subscribe button to this channel. Hit the membership button. Consider joining Joe Habib. Guys, he's giving you great content. Guys, DAZN is going up. He's giving you better content than DAZN at this point. All right, so subscribe, hit the like button, hit the join button, and yeah, Base is far from a hardcore casual. Base knows the lower weight classes as well, and the upper tier. I just disagree with him a little bit on this Fury talk with Usyk, but go for it, Base.
Well, no, tell me what specifically you disagree with. I can't stay on long. I've got to drop my sister somewhere in a little bit.
I mean, the only thing I disagree with, Base, and it's not to put you on the spot, but you asked me for it, so I just don't think that financially Usyk has that many viable financial options on par with what for a 40% payday would be against Fury.
Well,
I just don't see it.
So with regards to that, as I say, it depends on, number one, where the fight's going to be in terms of how much he gets paid. So when me and you spoke about him versus Hrgović, first thing I said was more than likely Saudi would take that kind of fight.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be based in the UK. It's not going to be based in Croatia. Saudi will take that. So he could easily still get an 8-figure payday from that. Now, with regards to his marketing power, all right, so here's what I'm going to say. Look at AJ's fight against Pulev, right? That fight did roughly about 820,000 pay-per-view buys, give or take.
In the pandemic, when people were starving to watch boxing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
When there were very few fights taking place, and people would watch anything at that point, it was behind closed doors in a TV studio.
Michael, you're actually proving my point here, so you might want to stop talking for a moment.
Can I interject? Can I interject one point, Base, and correct me if I'm wrong?
Go ahead.
I heard that the Joshua Usyk first fight only did 700,000 pay-per-view buys. Am I wrong on that, or am I correct?
You're wrong on that.
How much?
It was officially reported to be about 1.2. That's the official numbers.
That's close to the record, Base.
No. The record is 1.9. No, 1.8. Sorry, which is Joshua and I think Parker 1.76 or something like that. Klitschko was 1.5. 1.5.
Wasn't Klitschko 1.8 or something like that?
No, that one was 1.5 something. So the Parker one, I think, actually is slightly higher. Okay. But the point I was going to make was AJ and Povetkin, with AJ and Pulev, sorry, when people were starving for boxing and couldn't get out, there was only 1,000 people allowed in the arena, did about 800,000, give or take. The first Usyk fights was recorded to do about 1.2. So nobody knew Pulev, and according to the fans, nobody knows Povetkin, but he did like a 30% addition on top of the pay-per-view buys for Pulev. 30 to 45%. So my point being, you can clearly then see that there must be some kind of value for him in the UK or outside of just the biggest of possible fights, because AJ did more pay-per-views with him than what's happened with Pulev. And that's bearing in mind he did the pay-per-view with Chisora, he did the pay-per-view with Bellew, and he did 2 with AJ. So he's already had a big visibility towards anyone who watches boxing in the UK. So he's a big enough name to command at least parity, or well, even if not parity, at least like 64 is the absolute minimum you could offer him, because he's shown his pay-per-view prowess, and his pay-per-views that he's been in, technically, whether he was the A side or not, have sold more than Fury's pay-per-views over here in the UK. That's fact.
You mean he wasn't the A side? It's not A side or not. He wasn't the A side.
No, he was the A side. He was the A side technically against Tony Bellew.
So, Base, let me ask.
He wasn't against Chisora, but he was against Bellew.
Oh, you think he was the A side against Bellew?
Nah, I'm not going that far.
I have to respect.
If he was the A side, why wasn't it in the Ukraine? It was in England.
He traveled.
I don't even know if I'm qualified to disagree with you, because it's your neck of the woods. So I don't know.
He came out last. He came out last on the ring walk. He's the A side.
He came out last on the ring walk because he was the champion, bro.
The champion base.
Yeah, but Bellew was also champion emeritus, was he not? They were both technically champions.
Well, Bellew's a ticket seller over there. He did good numbers with Hay. Come on, bro.
Hayes the only person he did good numbers with outside of Usyk.
Bellew fought in a. Let's stop it. Let's stop the cap. Bellew fought in a football stadium against Makabu. Yeah, he got a little bit of a buzz and a draw there.
He didn't do great numbers against Makabu.
Bellew's a character, man. He's a good speaker.
We're not talking about characters. We're talking about who sold what.
Didn't Bellew do good numbers? Didn't he do good numbers against Hay? Didn't he do good numbers against Hay?
I just said that's the only ones he's done good numbers with outside of Usyk. The Makabu one wasn't paid for.
And the only numbers Usyk did was with Joshua. So it's the same thing.
He did numbers with Chisora as well.
I don't know.
Or was it Chisora that did the numbers? Again, he was fighting a UK fighter in the UK, but we're gonna sit here and pretend like he's the A side.
So let me help.
I never said he was the A side, but you guys are proving my point. If he's in there with quote unquote the biggest names of the UK, he has a high visibility rate because people are buying the pay-per-views.
So let me say this, Base. Are you suggesting, and I would never put words in your mouth, but are you suggesting he's gotten a little bit of rub from these other guys?
He's gotten a lot of rub from those other guys.
That's a fair argument. Maybe he has.
Can we rephrase that? I don't know what that means.
It means that he's gotten big off of their name.
Rub from other guys. What does that mean, guys?
You get that means you got shine from the bigger name because you.
But it doesn't sound right. I mean, come on. What are we talking about?
That's a WWE term, bro.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a very Base. You're familiar with the term, correct?
Yeah, I watch WWE. It's basically he got over by associating himself with those other people.
That's what it means. You get some exposure.
Okay.
It's called rub.
He's beaten the most high profile people in the country, so therefore
their exposure
the casuals know his name.
Their exposure gets rubbed off on you, in other words.
I got it. Okay, so
you don't have to take it the direction you were taking it, man. I know where you're going with that.
I just want people to be clear about what's being said. That's all.
Family show, bro. Come on.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, I think it's fair to say that when a guy, regardless of if he's a champion, has to go to other people's countries constantly to fight, I mean, you do have to question his sellability
it's not his sellability, it's the infrastructure in his homeland as to why he's traveling around. They don't have the same infrastructure in the Ukraine.
You mean because it's the most corrupt country in Europe? Is that why?
I mean, I'm not getting into those discussions with you.
Don't make him do that. Don't make
Is it because they had Hunter Biden on the payroll for what was it? How much money a month, Joe?
Don't do that.
I'm gonna tell you what. Like I said, I gotta go take my sister somewhere. I'm not doing this with you. I'll come back later. Peace.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Base.
So you chase him off with the politics. Base doesn't like the politics. Come on.
Okay. I got it. So Base made his case there for Usyk.
I see where he's coming from. He wasn't totally out of line, but here's
the thing.
Here's the thing, man. Usyk is still not in a position of power with Fury. I mean, that's just
no. I mean, give me the ratio. Is it 50-50? Is it 55-45? Is it 60-40? Like, what are the numbers?
Here's the problem. So I can understand Usyk's argument a little bit because in Saudi, he was willing to go 50-50, but in the UK, he did not want to. So maybe the fight goes back to Saudi. So, Fury is the A side, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So, look, I'm doubtful that this fight happens in April. I don't know about you. I mean, the whole thing here is we're talking about fights that are supposedly going to happen in April, right? But I don't know. I think both of these fights are highly unlikely for April, Joe. I'm just not seeing it right now.
Yeah, I think the Fury Usyk fight would probably. Well, and here's another thing too. When you looked at Fury, he looked in good shape. He looked like he was lean. So it looks like he has been training, right? But yeah, I can't see the fight happening any earlier than May, in my opinion. I don't see how it could happen any earlier than May.
And I don't have a problem with that. I'm not, one of these guys that's, if this fight doesn't happen in April, I'm going to give up on boxing. I can't take this anymore. I'm being lied to constantly. Look, I've been lied to constantly my whole life. I've been lied to by politicians. I've been lied to by boxing promoters. I mean, guys, we're all, mature adults here, right? I mean, we know what that we don't always get what we want when we want it. Like, we're not children here. We gotta call you. See who this is. One moment as I try to bring you in, brother, because I just realized that I do not believe I have you on Bluetooth. But let me see if I could bring in the caller. Caller, can you hear us? No, I'm going to ask you to call back in, caller. Sorry about that. That's my fault. Or in fact, I'll call in. Oh no, it sounded like caller was there. Let me call that person back. Go for it, Joe, as I call them in.
I think the problem that Usyk does have is originally he was told he was going to get 50-50, and then the curveball was thrown at him. Oh, well, if it's in the UK, it's not going to be 50-50. So don't give him 50-50 and then take it away, in other words. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because it was mentioned originally, it was agreed that they would do 50-50 if the fight was in Saudi, and then they came up with this situation where, well, if it's not in Saudi and it's in the UK, it's not going to be 50-50. So I could see where Usyk would be upset with that. I mean, again, I have no problem with any fighter trying to, like, even when Plant was negotiating with Canelo and everyone was saying, oh, he has no right to do that. He's the B-side. Okay, that's well and good. But a fighter is going to negotiate on his, to favor himself. He's going to put himself in a position to get the best possible deal that he can for himself. And by asking for that, I don't fault any fighter. So I'm not criticizing Usyk for wanting to get 50-50. I would never do that. But I do believe Fury is the A side. He's the main fighter. He's the bigger fighter in terms of popularity, obviously. I'm not going to say notoriety, but
no, I agree with you. Let's see if I can get this caller in. It's got some technical issues here right now. Caller, can you hear us? Got him on. He can hear us because I got him on through the phone. But I'm gonna call you right back, caller. Joe, you take over. I have to connect the phone directly with a cable. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. You guys. You spit for a second, Joe.
Yeah, so I understand, like, you don't give somebody 50-50, then take it off the table, and this whole thing about the UK. And I do agree with Base. I do think that, obviously, after his 2 victories over AJ, the UK people do know who Alexander Usyk is. I mean, he does bring the 3 belts to the table. So I was just hoping, selfishly, that Fury would do whatever he could to make the fight happen, because of the magnitude and the historic achievement this would be for him, right? So I would think that would kind of trump the money a little bit. And again, I don't fault anyone for trying to get the most money they can get, and I don't fault anyone for trying to get the best deal they can get, A side, B side, or what have you. But at the end of the day, Usyk was originally promised 50-50. And I think that, Fury's team should give it to him if that's what was originally offered. Right. So that's the issue I have. And Usyk has made concessions virtually his whole career. And at some point you have to say to yourself, when does this guy get rewarded for doing what he's done, for always going into someone else's backyard, for always taking the B side, even when he was the champion, having to take the B side in certain fights, right? So Usyk has earned his respect at this point, in my opinion. So it would be nice to see this fight get put over the line. But push comes to shove, if Usyk can't get this Fury fight and he gets the Hrgovic fight, it's going to be a major letdown, more so for him because...
Here we go, Joe. We got the caller online. Can you hear us now? Loud and clear. Who is this, brother? I don't recognize the voice. And apology.
We can't hear him, though.
Oh, you can't hear him?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties. We got an issue here with my system. My fault. But thank you. Use the link if you can. Use the link if you can.
I'll give him the link.
Yeah, drop the link, please, Joe. And apologies. I got a new mixer here, everybody, and at my Bronx apartment, and it's this is one of the first times I've used the phone with it. So apologies to the caller and apologies for those listening. These things happen on a live show sometimes, unfortunately. So look, I don't disagree with anything you said, Joe. I just think that he may have to humble himself a little bit, Usyk. And
yeah, push comes to shove. Here's the thing. If Fury fights Joe Joyce, and that's in the UK, that's a huge fight for Fury, and he can definitely get 65-40, like 65-35 or something like that in that fight, right? Because it'll be a voluntary, it won't be a mandatory, right? But Usyk versus Hrgovic, that's not a big fight for Usyk. It's not. Right? Then Fury can fight Ngannou in Saudi. That's another mega fight. So Fury does have options. I don't think Usyk has anything comparable, anything close to being in the stratosphere of a Fury, where Fury can fight other guys and make more money, man. Let's be honest.
No, I agree. And I heard somebody in the chat earlier talking about Andy Ruiz being a possible opponent. I mean, that's also a sellable fight, but we'll see what happens. There is something. Is there anything else you want to say about this fight, actually, Joe, before I ask you my next question?
No, I pretty much covered it.
So, it was announced last year that Russian fighters would be removed from rankings officially. Again, I was one of the few people who, I think you were as well, Joe, who was critical about this decision. The WBC, believe it or not, was one of the groups that made this decision. Well, one of the fighters who's obviously been affected by that is Murat Garcia, the former cruiserweight who's now fighting as a heavyweight. He had a return against Mike Bologun. He won in 2 rounds. Joe, what's your feeling on Russian fighters right now and on what's happening to them and kind of just being removed from boxing? Like guys that were fighting at a high level are like, fighting in obscurity right now almost.
So if we're going to be objective and we're not even going to look at, because we have a certain feeling towards the whole conflict regardless, and we're not going to go down that route. So we're going to have to look at this from a purely objective standpoint.
Yes. And
to assume that an athlete is involved in the politics of the country, right? That to assume that athlete co-signs and goes along with everything in regards to the politics of that country, I don't think it's fair. So I've always been one to separate entertainment from politics, sports from politics. And that's why, when you have all these Hollywood people get up in arms and they want to virtue signal about all these issues, it's like, okay, just, at an awards show, I don't want to hear a political speech. I want to hear a speech regarding your award and how gracious and grateful you are for winning the award, right? So I'm not a big fan of mixing sports, politics, entertainment, politics. I just don't think there's a place for it. And if you're going to do that, then where does it end, right? Where does it end? So every time there's a conflict between two countries and regardless of like where the sanctioning body is, whether it be Mexico or whether it be based in North America or regardless. So if you are on a specific side and you don't agree with the other side, you're just going to ban, you pick and choose who's right and who's wrong in every single conflict. It just becomes monotonous after a while, right? Where does it end, as I said?
Well, I mean, Russia launched its special operation into the Ukraine, which is its neighbor. The United States is in neighbors with Syria. They're occupying Syria right now. How long was the United States in Afghanistan, in Iraq, Somalia, Libya, drones in Pakistan, all over the place? I mean, the United States got bases in, I don't remember how many countries, it's too many. But U.S. fighters are allowed to fight. Like, I just don't understand. And you know what it's like to train hard to do something, Joe. I mean, you've been around gyms. You know that the sacrifice and dedication these fighters put into the sport to just be removed almost from boxing, right? Unranked. I think the only guys right now that are allowed to fight are guys that already held championships like Bivol, or people who hold that status like Bivol, Betterbeeb, who already were champions, but who, they announce are from the countries that they now live in, like they're no longer Russians, right? Because Betterbeeb now, according to ESPN, is no longer Russian. He's just Canadian. So, and he represents Canada only. So I guess that's why he gets to fight and defend his WBC title. I just think it's very unfair to these Russian fighters.
It's disrespectful.
I mean, Gassiev is still only 29. Like, he's in the entering the prime of his years as a cruiserweight heavyweight, if he's not there already. And it just seems like he's robbed of an opportunity to pursue his career. I mean, it just strikes me as unfair. And he's having to fight in Armenia, of all countries. I mean, yeah. Because obviously they're not even allowing fights that kind of take place in Russia. These sanctioning bodies, they won't sanction them, right? So it's just very unfair, right?
Yeah, I'm not on board with it. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm actually against it,
right? So
I don't believe these fighters should be treated like that. I don't think it's right.
No. You also have Bivol, who it took months to get paid, and it was actually an open question whether he would get paid after his last fight with Canelo. Probably a big reason why now he's deciding, I'm just going to fight I'm not going to fight in the United States, right? His last fight wasn't in the United States, right, against Zurdo. And who loses it? Who loses in that scenario? People like us, boxing fans based here in the U.S. who don't get to see Bivol apply his trade craft, right? We don't get to see him in Vegas. We don't get to see him in Madison Square Garden. We have to watch him on DAZN, right?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So I don't think it's worth it. I don't know if you have anything else to say on this, but one other thing I wanted to touch on with you today, Joe, is this upcoming DAZN schedule. Before I pull it up so that people can have a look at it, Joe, just talk to me about your initial feeling when you saw that there would be this price increase.
First of all, you've already increased the price 50% last year, and then you're going to do it again this year. And I talked to D-Style about this, and this is one of the most disgusting things DAZN did. And that was during the pandemic when they were still charging people their membership while there were no fights on the schedule, right? You would think they would allow people to freeze their memberships. They did not, right? So they were still charging you while they were offering you no fights, right? And now they have this different price tier where you have to commit. If you don't want to pay the whole price up front for the year, you can pay a monthly price, I think $20 a month, right? And if you do agree to the $20 a month, you have to lock in for a year, meaning you can't cancel. Your fees will just be divided up into 12 months. So then they added this other thing where you have to pay $25 a month if you don't commit, right? So if this is not one of the greatest forms of price gouging, I do not know what is. And then they have this excuse for doing it. Well, where we have football added, we have all these other sports, and all these other countries may benefit from all these other sports, but we don't need, other than boxing, what do Americans have the zone for? No, we're not watching darts, we're not watching snooker, we're not watching. Most of us aren't watching, a lot of this other stuff that's on there. With all due respect, no disrespect to those sports, but we're just not fans of those generally in America, right? So you're giving us less, and you're charging us more. In what world does that equation ever add up and would ever be looked upon favorably?
It doesn't. It was a classic bait and switch. I mean, they started me at a low price. They got me a little bit excited because it was mostly boxing, and then now it's been, increased 50%, and then again the following year another 50%. And I'm going to show everybody the schedule in a moment. But before, I want to welcome Papa Chubby to the show. Papa Chubby, what's good, fam?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. As far as the DAZN topic goes, I feel like where they should be, I mean, you're talking about a company with tons of money behind it, where they should be looking at new, innovative ways to expand the fan base, try and get things back to some level of the HBO days. I know we'll probably never get back to that. Friday night fights. The idea of getting casual people somehow invested or excited about any aspect of boxing, any particular fighter, something that's going to draw them to watch. I don't know. I don't have the answers, and I don't think many of us do. I don't know the direction they need to take, but they've got the money and resources to figure it out. So they can't expand. So what do? They tax the people that help build the thing. They tax the people that are the only ones that are paying and that are solid fans. And we see what's happening now. It's pushing those people away. I mean, content creators are even saying, I'm not paying it. And I've seen content creators across all tribes and all affiliations. You know what I mean by that?
Yep.
I've seen all of them saying the same thing about DAZN. I won't pay. And I don't blame people because, frankly, it feels personal, doesn't it? It feels personal somehow.
It does. I mean, Joe can tell you a story about a long time, sub to his channel who almost got like what was it, like an extortion almost email from DAZN about the price increase. You want to elaborate? I mean, on that one, Joe. I mean, you don't have to say the person's name, but I mean, they're like, it was almost like subscribe or else, or it's just incredible. I mean, around the time of the price increase. So I'm going to show people the schedule right now. Papa Chubby. You can stay on as I go over this, but I mean, let's have a look here, right? Let's have a look. We've got, what do we got here, Joe? We've got, low level cage fighting. I don't even know what league that is. MTFL 5.0. That's today. Then we've got
what is that?
Then we've got Octagon with a K 40. Then we've got Red Bull Caro Abajo in Medellin, Colombia. Then there's some kind of grid esports. I mean, this is what they're showing now. And when you go to the actual schedule, I mean, I get it. They got the DAZN X series that very few boxing fans care about. You've got Red Bull, you've got darts, you've got female. It looks like French. No, that's not French. It looks like it's female Spanish football. And then
Maestro?
Yeah.
Sorry, just interrupt quick. Did you guys see the post Eddie Hearn put up? Or maybe it was DAZN. I think it was Eddie Hearn, though. And it was showing, it must have been like the final match of a dart tournament or whatever. Did you guys see that at all? It made the rounds.
I didn't.
Well, I mean, I had no idea. Like, they're in a venue, I'd say at least 1,000 people. and the crowd was amped. I mean, you would, to the point where you'd think they're almost paying them to be so excited about darts. I had no idea. But, I mean, it looked exciting as far as televised darts is, but I still have no interest, you know.
I love playing darts, but I don't like watching them. Unless I go to a bar and I see a couple honey dips like playing darts, I'll watch them, but I'm not going to watch it on television.
I mean, these guys are like drinking pints while they do the sport. It's like you might as well put softball on television. You know what I mean? Yeah. You take a puff of the cigarette. You go to the plate to bat. You get to first base. You take a swig of a beer can. You know, somebody drives you home and then you eat a hot dog. Like, that's literally softball on a Sunday. Why didn't the Zone show that? You know what I mean? I mean, come on, guys, this is crazy.
It's different country to country too. You know, like so for me, I like international rugby.
Same. So 7s and 15s, both, right?
Yeah.
Six Nations, all of that. I love rugby as well.
Yeah, like Six Nations, I'm all about it. So yeah, those bigger tournaments, DAZN has shown some of that in the past, and also, no, I guess that's about it. Just the rugby.
They didn't they didn't have the Rugby World Cup on DAZN.
No, World Cup's like a bigger fish, too big, I think, for DAZN.
Yeah, so it's like it's heavy on Saturdays. In fact, they have a lot of stuff on Saturdays. It's like competing with itself at the same time. You know, esports, 2 MMA shows. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was 2 weeks ago they showed the Felix Sturm fight while they were showing a Golden Boy card with Neri. I mean, but then midweek it's like a barren wasteland. I'm going to show it right now. I mean, there's nothing. Like, whenever you see these dates shaded out, currently there are no events. Currently there are no events. Currently there are no events. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, it's
like this is a month right now where I look at the schedule and nothing on the schedule really interests me at all. Nothing that would make me want to pay a monthly fee for this month.
And that's really what it is. It's the monthly fee that and I understand that people in the UK like darts. I get that. People in the US like bowling. That doesn't mean that I want the Zone to rack up or ramp up the fees and then offer bowling. I didn't sign up to the Zone for darts. I didn't sign up to the Zone for bowling. I didn't sign up to the Zone for esports. I didn't sign up to the Zone for female football from Spain. I signed up for boxing. That's what I signed up for.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if they even had consistently a couple fights a month of the quality of some stuff we've seen recently, like Vargas Foster and Mixayo Figueroa, Matias Ponce. I mean, even if they had that kind of quality, I'd be happy to pay, but they don't.
No, it's crazy. Showtime's actually putting on better fights right now.
Yeah.
They are, and I'm sorry, I'm not excited about Jermaine Franklin getting his shot after losing to Dillian White against AJ. And guess what? I don't think UK fans are that excited about it. You know.
No. Can I put something to you guys? And,
yeah, go for it.
I don't want to put you on the spot because it's a big ask. It's a big question. I don't have answers, but looking at the Jake Paul fight, I know a lot of people are down on him and down on the whole, it's ruining boxing and blah blah. Okay, so just consider, if not Paul himself, just the concept of what he's doing with the sport. I mean, is there some way we can roll that into something that's meaningful for bringing new fans and new eyes to the sport, people to actually get excited about the sport? What I want to ask you guys is, how can boxing regain the luster? How can they start to expand and attract new fans and get people to it to support? Because what's happening right now is they're just trying to make up for a shortfall. And I don't see any kind of plan going forward to really, how you say, like, naturally, organically grow the sport.
I think you got to focus on the grassroots, and I'll turn it later after Joe goes. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing in my community with boxing. But I think the answer is really there. But Joe, go for it.
I don't really have a problem with what Jake Paul's doing, but I do honestly think that the impact is a little bit exaggerated, because we went over this before, and a lot of these social media people that are following Jake Paul, are they really buying the pay-per-view events? Because he signed that deal with Showtime and they let him go, because a lot of those fights, the Woodley fights and even the Silva fight, did very poorly, right? It did not meet expectations. Now, this fight, they're saying it did 500,000 pay-per-view buys. Now I'm hearing some people say it did 200,000 pay-per-view buys. This fight was very well promoted. It was being talked about. The day after the fight, you had mainstream sports shows talking about it, like on Fox and on ESPN. So it did get some mentions. But once again, are people digging into their pockets and really paying for these fights, right? Because they're not doing Canelo numbers, they're not doing AJ numbers, they're not doing Tyson Fury numbers, right? I don't even know if they're doing Errol Spence numbers right now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I think the success is, in terms of the monetary success, I think is being exaggerated, right? Now again, he's fighting 8 rounds, he's getting 7 digits, right? He's getting millions of dollars to fight. That's great for him. But is it really growing the sport like they're saying? Is it really bringing these new eyeballs to the sport like they're saying? If you're only selling 100,000, 200,000 pay-per-view buys, what is revolutionary here? Now, I'll just finish on this note. The whole thing about him dishonoring the sport or whatever. Listen, there's 1,100 cruiserweights registered in the world right now in boxing. Now, does Jake Paul have a place within those 1,100 boxers? Absolutely, yes. So, does he have to be world class? No. Is he getting world class purses? Yeah. Okay, but the deal that you take is the deal you make. So that's a credit to what he's done. So you can't be mad about what he's making, and these purists are going to come out and attack him, because why do you care? I mean, you don't have to buy it, right? Let people buy what they want to buy. But go ahead.
No, that's great, man. And I want to say to everybody, the round table you had, was it yesterday or Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
On this topic, everybody, if you missed the round table, go and watch it, because it was really good, Joe. And
thanks.
All I'm gonna say is, I don't feel like, if there's any extreme negative or positive from Jake Paul, we can't put it's too much onus. It's putting it on this high shelf it shouldn't be on.
I'll go further. I'll say I don't even see any negative. What's the negative?
Right. Yeah. Good point. Good point. How can there be negative from?
I don't see a negative. I've never seen a negative.
Is he taking food out of the mouth of a Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua or a Canelo Alvarez or a Tank Davis or an Errol Spence or a Terrence Crawford? These guys are making good money, bro. David Benavidez is he makes 7 figures a fight. Caleb Plant makes 7 figures a fight. It's like Devin Haney's making 7 figures a fight. So never in the sport of boxing have guys made more money. And when I say more money, I mean collectively. Now, because back in the day, you would only have a select few. Now you have more boxers making 7 figures than ever before. There's more money in the sport of boxing than there's ever before when you look at the totality of the purses of what fighters are getting. Go ahead, Maestro.
Well, I was just also going to say, not only is he not taking money out of the pockets of fighters, he's putting money into the pockets of fighters. Eddie Hearn said it himself. He signed Montana Love after seeing him on a Jake Paul undercard.
Yeah.
I mean, Amanda Serrano was making like $40,000 a fight before she signed up with Jake and then ended up making a 7-figure purse against Katie Taylor in a sold-out fight that I attended live here in New York City at Madison Square Garden. That's put in money, and the other undercard fighters got paid on his undercards as well, including Daniel Dubois, including Tommy Fury. Where else was Tommy Fury going to make the payday he just got if not against Jake Paul?
Nowhere.
Oh man.
Okay,
no.
so in terms of what needs to happen though with the youth, Joe, you said it over the phone to me the other day. There was a time when the New York Golden Gloves was a big deal, right? If the zone is starved for content, why don't they put on the national championships here in the United States? I attended them last year in Lubbock, Texas. I was there at the USA Boxing National Championships. I was there as a coach. Why wasn't that on the zone? I know a lot of people in this chat would have watched it to see the next generation of fighter. And then you want to talk about bringing the younger generation into the sport. Let them see opportunities at the amateur level for them to compete, to give them a goal to strive towards, and to show them that there were opportunities, right? At a minimum, the national championship should be on the zone, or the same ones in Britain, the European championships in Europe, the AIBA World Championships. Put that on the zone, right? And you got to invest in the next generation of fighters. Joe's seen my footage. I send it to him, because he's my friend. I'm training fighters in the public school gym, in the basement, in the Bronx, New York. I'm doing my best to give kids in my community opportunities to get into the sport of boxing. So there are things that can be done. It's not that complicated, Joe.
The answer to your question is very simple in theory, but in practice it becomes difficult, and it's been made to become difficult because Deontay Wilder was very, very heavily criticized by people like Eddie Hearn. And Deontay Wilder actually built up himself and promoted himself very well. How did he do it? I'll tell you why, in my opinion. He was at every single event. He did interviews with everyone. Anytime someone stuck a mic in his face, he did an interview with them. He's on YouTube all the time, and he does interviews with all of these with different channels. And you can criticize the channels he does interviews with, but once again, he is constantly talking. He's constantly visible at the events, constantly talking on YouTube. People talk about social media like Instagram and TikTok being great for boxing. I disagree. I mean, I think they're good. I think YouTube is still the driving force in terms of social media behind these boxers, because look at how many exclusive YouTube boxing channels we have. You have Fight Hub, Fight Hype, IFL they have millions of subscribers, and they get and when you go on their channels and do interviews on their channels, you get millions of eyeballs looking at you. So what Deontay Wilder did was he was always at these events. He was always doing interviews on YouTube, and that's the route I believe you have to go if you want to become big. And obviously you got to fight the fights. So you got to fight the fights. Number one, you got to go out there. You got to go to events. You got to do public events yourself. Do meet and greets. Go to specific stores. Go to gyms and sign autographs. Go out there and talk to the people. When someone wants to talk to you, don't run away from them, right? And go to fights and just like at Saudi, what did Saudi do? They brought all these fighters over there, and it's a win-win for both sides there, because the Saudis getting exposure, getting the exposure from the fighters, and the fighters are getting exposure from the event that itself, right? So you just got to put yourself out there as a fighter, and you got to fight the fights, and you got to do the work. It's not that difficult, but it's been made to be difficult because the work's not being done. I think a lot of times too, the promoters kind of make certain fighters a little bit complacent, because at the end of the day, the big thing was, okay, we'll get that big TV deal, and now we don't have to do the work anymore because we're locked in. Back in the day, when you would be on a fight-to-fight basis or a 2-fight deal with the network, you still had to go out there and grind because it wasn't like you were set. Now a fighter signs with a promoter, that promoter signs an exclusive multi-fight deal with that network and platform, and they're set now. Like Terrence Crawford was, with all due respect, love Terrence Crawford, but he was given a mandatory minimum with Top Rank, who had an exclusive deal with ESPN. So he was set, right? There's no incentive for me to go above and beyond now, because I could fight anyone and I'm guaranteed $3 million. Didn't matter who I fought. They're guaranteeing me $3 million. That's $6 million a year. I can live off that. I don't have to do anything anymore. Well, back in the day when, the promoter didn't have those long-term exclusive deals, right? Then you actually had to work as a fighter to promote yourself. The promoter actually had to work harder to promote yourself. But I think, the way boxing is structured now, it made fighters more complacent, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, it's great that they're getting all-time high paydays. We all want to see it, but not when it's at the expense of the sport. Like, that's the issue. I just want to say one last thing, guys. Like, basically, Jake Paul, love him or hate him, he just showed that the system can be shaken up. He's done something different with his own path. And I'm not saying that that's the solution or it's something we need to follow necessarily, but for this boxing to continue to expand, grow, regain fans, it's going to take something unconventional. Like Jake Paul's shown us that much. And I would say the only negative, because we were talking about the negatives, Maestro, I think is with all the hype and everything leading up, like, he's amazing. The promotion was amazing. He's obviously got a sound business mind. But as soon as that first bell rings, reality hits. Like, the level of it's low-level boxing. And that's my only concern is you got fans tuning in for a main event pay-per-view, and it's like, not the worst boxing ever, but let's face it, it's not championship boxing. That'd be my only issue with it. Otherwise, I think everything he's doing serves as a way to show maybe a way forward, something different.
I don't disagree, Papa Chubby, but at the end of the day, anybody who tuned into that pay-per-view saw a tremendous fight in the co-feature between Makabu and Badu Jack.
True.
So they got to see what high-level boxing is, because they made sure that they gave it a platform. I was very entertained by that fight between Jack and Alunga Makabu.
Yeah.
But in the main event, you had two guys who were on the same level.
Novice boxers.
They had the same skill set. And I'm just going to be honest. I mean, they're not elite level, top level fighters, but they're not horrible either. Like, the average guy cannot just walk into a ring and do what either one of those men did.
Well, they were way more entertaining than Huey Fury ever was, or some Okoli fights I've watched. So yeah.
So I mean, again, everyone has a right to their opinion. Anyone can critique what they saw however they see fit. I thought because both of those guys were at the same level, I thought the two styles meshed pretty well together. And if I'm being honest, I don't think it was a horrible fight. I think it was a good fight. I think you saw Tommy Fury, as that fight wore on, he tried to step on the gas. He tried to put shots together. He tried to hurt Jake Paul, and Jake Paul tried to land the right hand. Jake Paul, landed that jab. He was throwing a nice short left hook in spots in that fight. There were some spots of decent boxing in there. I'm not going to sit there and look. I'm not going to sit there and look at that and assess it and say it was a tough man contest. Two guys.
No, I mean, you don't have to also argue that it was watching Finito Lopez in his prime.
No,
like, that's not. But I wasn't expecting that. But I'll tell you what, it's way better than the clips I saw of the DAZN X series that DAZN is charging us pay-per-view money for.
Yeah.
I mean,
guys.
I'll be honest with you, it was better boxing than that. And that was on pay-per-view on a platform that I already subscribed to, and I'm paying a lot of money towards, much more than I pay to ESPN Plus every month.
there's no doubt it exceeded everyone's expectations. You know, like there's no doubt about it. I even heard Teddy Atlas talking about it like that. Have you?
Yeah,
have
and
you
he the biggest hater of boxing right now.
Oh man, he's a hard ass for sure. You've watched that X thing on DAZN, Maestro? Like, tell us.
Yeah, I did. I watched it.
What's it about? Like, generally.
I mean, it's literally guys you've never heard of that are novice boxers fighting each other on a pay-per-view platform in exhibition fights that don't lead to pro records, but for which the winner receives like these fake belts. I actually watched the one where KSI fought two guys in the same day. I mean, it was really bad. And the fact is, they charged the DAZN subscribers pay-per-view for this.
How much was it?
Yeah, how much?
It wasn't like super cheap. It wasn't like $20. It was significantly more than that. And I'll tell you, I watch it because I have a channel, and I wanted to know whether or not this is something that I should continue to report on or report on at all. News alert, it wasn't. I talked about it on the Sunday show I do. Shout out to Eric and Joe. They go live at 6. We go live on my channel. I go live with Kenny T for Mano a Mano at 12. And I mean, I saw it once. We talked about it briefly, and I don't really need to talk about it much more moving forward. Yeah. Again, I want to see high-level amateur fighting platformed before I see that. And
yeah, you need.
I mean, let's get the major amateur shows platformed so that young people can see young people doing boxing at a level that they can access, you know, before turning pro. I think that's how you build interest in the sport. Anything else, Papa Chubby?
I'll just say that I couldn't agree with you more. And like hearing you talk about elevating major tournaments and events from the amateur world brings a tear to my eye. I have two sons. They're both in the amateurs. And there's quality fighting happening. And, you know, for whatever people want to say about Olympic and the world level, as far as corruption or whatever people might criticize it, there's a lot of heart still in the amateurs, man. You know, and when you look at all the things that are happening at the pro level, amateurs got a lot to like. It's really still the heart of the sport. And other than that, I'll just listen in, guys. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Papa Chubby.
Bye, Joe.
See you later, man. Take care, brother.
Papa Chubby's not just a subscriber. He's also a member to my channel. And I encourage everybody here to join Joe's channel because you're getting some of the best boxing content out there from my comrade, Joe Habib. His Sunday show with Eric is must-watch television. It's a unique blend of high-level boxing talk with comedy. I love it. I love it when Jerry phones in. I love it when Ringside Robert calls in, and I love it when you go back and back with the pro Eric Lord. I really enjoy it. Guys, support his content, man. We ain't out here making money off of YouTube. I'm just letting you know. The only way we make money really is off of the super chats and the memberships. That's it. The YouTube videos themselves do not pay. I'm going to tell you that right now. So if you like what you're seeing, if you enjoy the content, help Joe out because there is a monthly cost associated with providing you with this content. StreamYard is a monthly cost. Of course, there's equipment involved as well. And when it comes to me and traveling out to these fights, that's obviously a cost in itself as well. So if you can, do support the content, guys. I know Joe will appreciate it, and I know I definitely appreciate it. I don't know if you want to do one more thing on the Ukraine, Joe, if you want to save that for another time.
Yeah, we'll save that. Because we can go on for hours about that one.
Yeah. So So that's it for me, Joe. I don't know about you. I don't got anything else to talk about unless anything else pops up in the chat that you want us to talk about.
I mean, the whole Conor Benn thing is kind of outrageous. I mean,
Conor Benn. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Conor real quick. What was it? 278 pages for this report
that supposedly the sanctioning body has seen, but the commission has not seen, and UCAD has not seen it. So all the people that really need to see it haven't seen it, but the WBC can see it. WBC is a sanctioning body. They're not a commission, right? They can determine whether or not they want to sanction a fight, but without a commission, a boxer cannot be licensed in a certain area, and he can't fight. So unless Conor Benn wants to never fight in the UK again, he's got to square this away with UCAD. And now they're trying to say that, oh, it's not the eggs, it's something like tell us what is going on. Be transparent about it. Apparently he's supposed to be going on Piers Morgan.
Yeah, I can't. I'm actually going to do a reaction to that when it happens. But by the way, this whole egg thing, clomiphene apparently is not allowed in eggs in the UK. Yeah, it's something that's only used in other places. So he's going to have to provide some source material. Jesse Regan, I'm about to get you in. I just want to land this last point. I'm also a little bit tired of people talking about Canelo and comparing Canelo to Conor Benn. Canelo's reason for testing positive for clenbuterol was one that was already used by other athletes in Mexico. Clenbuterol is widespread. There's widespread use of it in cattle farming in Mexico. He sourced it to a restaurant. He provided receipts from that restaurant. The restaurant admitted that that the beef that they were using came from a farm, where the farmers admitted to using clenbuterol. And then Canelo actually did hair follicle testing, right, in a WADA and VADA approved lab, all right, the results of which were shared with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, which cleared him. So, or gave him a retroactive suspension because it was in the system. So let's not compare Canelo with Conor Benn. It's two totally different things. Joe's going to be right back, Jesse Regan. Salute to you, brother. How's it going, fam?
Hey, what's up, brother? I appreciate your contribution to Ringside Reporter. You and Joe compliment each other very well on the show. Always,
appreciate that, bro.
If I can't listen live all the time, but I catch the replays and stuff, you know.
I appreciate that, Jesse.
Is Serrano versus Taylor too? Is that off?
It's off, bro. It's off. So, Serrano says she's injured.
Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that. Okay. Yeah, I just saw it on BoxRec and I wasn't familiar with the news. Okay, that sucks, man. I was really looking forward to that one. That was my fight of the year last year.
I was at that fight, Jesse.
I was there too. I was there.
Yeah, and I had a really good time at that fight. I'm going to show you the article right now. I'm going to share the screen and go through the news with you. It was a great fight. I actually thought Serrano won when I was there live. I was on the Boxing Voice in Vegas, actually, in the studio talking about it at the time, and that was my opinion watching it live. I know people that watch it over the television or on their phones because it was on DAZN had a different impression. That was my impression live at the fight. But yes, here we go. So Amanda Serrano injured. Katie Taylor rematch no longer in play for May 2nd. That's the news. It came on Boxing Scene February the 28th. So very recently. Now, what was interesting to me about this fight, Jesse, is that I never thought that it made sense to go from a sellout in Madison Square Garden. So it's a sellout in an NBA arena, 20,000 fans, in the richest city, in the richest country in the world, and you're going to do the rematch to that huge fight that took place in a city also with a lot of Puerto Ricans and a lot of Irish people. I mean, those are the two of the biggest ethnic groups or national groups in New York City, Irish and Puerto Ricans, right?
Lebanese too.
Yeah, Lebanese too, right? And so You're gonna go from a media market, the center of the global media apparatus, New York City, right? And I at the post-fight press conference actually suggested they do it at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, where I live. Yankee Stadium right out my window, right out here. I live in the South Bronx. Again, huge Puerto Rican community here in the Bronx, huge Irish community here in the Bronx and Woodlawn. Not to mention it's in New York City, which generally has big numbers of both of these groups.
Yeah.
You're then gonna go and do it in a concert venue in Dublin in a rematch. Dublin being like arguably the poorest, definitely one of the poorest countries in Western Europe, where the economy is nowhere near as strong, in a venue that seats about half. I mean, make that make sense. I mean, so I'm sure Serrano probably had a little bit of an injury and is like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe we could get more money for this later on if we do it in the United States or in a stadium out there, not in a concert venue. What do you think? What do you think, Jesse?
Plus, you gotta also worry about the judges over there, which is always a concern going overseas. If the judges, especially if they fight as close as they did the first time around. And the first time around, I actually had it scored a draw when I was there in person. Maybe because I put money on the draw, so I was kind of hoping for the draw. But I swear I was waiting for that draw decision to come up though after they finished. But that was a female Gotti Ward, man. At least that's what it felt like in the atmosphere. And you were there. Like the atmosphere itself was crazy.
Tremendous atmosphere. Atmosphere. The Irish were super noisy. The Puerto Ricans were super noisy. And it was fun too? I mean, you saw. I'm not a huge fan of like nationalism and patriotism in boxing in general because I think that there's a lot of fighters that can't benefit from that. One of the biggest examples to me being Lennox Lewis, who never had a national home amongst Jamaicans, Canadians, or Brits, and therefore I feel kind of has never been acknowledged for what he was. But having said that, it was great to see Puerto Ricans and Irish fans, side by side, enjoying the fight, giving each other high fives, hugging, drinking beers beside one another. It was a nice environment. It wasn't like at each other's heads. There was no like fights or anything negative. It was a really great atmosphere.
Hey, Maestro, you want to hear something funny? I'm Puerto Rican. I went with one of my best friends who was Irish.
Yeah,
so it was us too. Yeah, but it was like you said, it was a lot of that. There was nationalism, but it wasn't like our country's better than yours, kind of like fighting. It was just more fights were there. More prideful. Yeah,
it was a good environment. No fights, right?
No fights. I mean, from where I was at, not one fight broke out. Where actually when I went to Wilder Hellenius,
I was about to say that there was a fight there.
I was right next to it. It happened on my row. It happened right 2 rows below me.
And I'm just gonna guess it wasn't between an African American and a Finnish American guy, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny? I didn't see it. I went to get a hot dog and a soda, and when I came back up, everybody was like, "Yo, you just missed the biggest thing," and it was like 3 rows. I was like, "Oh God!" But the Barclay compared to the Garden, I much rather go to the Garden anyway.
Well, the Garden is so much better. The Barclay, you got this weird angle that you're sitting at.
Right.
The seats are kind of smaller and tighter because the venue's smaller and they're trying to pack you in there like sardines.
Well, everything's run better too. Like when we went to the Barclay, or somebody was in our seats, and then the ushers really didn't do much about it. Garden is just run so much better, in my opinion.
No, but it's way better. You know what I want to see? I want to see them do the Kingsbridge Armory in the Bronx the way they do the Armory in Minneapolis, because that Armory in the Bronx is huge and it's just sitting there vacant. If they could turn that in an arena-style venue, that would be an awesome place to watch fights. Because I've been to the Armory in Minneapolis, and it's really nice for boxing. Very nice.
Something tells me that Amanda Serrano don't want to go to Ireland, man.
I agree.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, you brought up great points on that. I wasn't aware of the venue situation. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Unless, I mean, you're just stacking the odds for Taylor. But besides that, if you have half the people there, you're generating half the money. So
Half the people there in a place where you can't charge as much money for tickets as you could in New York. I mean, you just can't make that make sense to me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
From an economic standpoint, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, man.
That's crazy. I actually want to, and if I can say a couple other things, Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, man. I used to admire Jake for stepping into the boxing world and stuff, but he's not a boxer, and it showed tremendously.
Spoken like a typical New Yorker. Once your guy loses, you jump ship. That's how it is over there.
But Beeb, look, he had
Maestro. That's how you guys do it over there. That's how you guys do it over there.
Look how lost he was with the jab. All Tommy Fury had to do was jab him. Like he controlled the fight the whole time. You know,
I tell you to bet. I told you to take the over. Didn't I tell you to take the over?
Yeah, I took Tommy, actually, tell you the truth. I thought Tommy was going to win. I want money.
I told you to do that too,
yeah.
but head with the over.
Whatchamacallit? Yeah, good looking. And you know, but I thought Jake was going to put up a better fight. And the commentary on there was disgusting, man.
Oh, it was so bad.
Oh, it was really bad. Coach Larry Wade, Ray Flores, Radio Raheem, and probably the worst of them was Sean Porter. It was so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
From Radio Raheem's "I Love You Too," when Logan wasn't talking to him, and then Sean Porter. I'm the most disappointed in, because
that's what I'm saying.
He's a boxer, and you know, to be that one-sided and try to create a narrative there.
I'm just gonna say it, bro. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. The dude's corny, fam. Yeah. I think he's corny. My wife thinks he's corny. I know K.O. Kenny, who I do my Sunday show with, thinks he's corny.
Eric and I think he's corny too.
I mean, he's just corny, bro. And I'll tell you how corny he is. I saw him at the Devin Haney Jojo Diaz fight in Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. And I wasn't even asking him for an interview. I just went up to him to say hello. Oh no interviews. And then he goes and does an interview with Mike Coppinger. I wasn't even asking him for an interview. I was just trying to show him respect and say, hey, what's good, Chad? But I'm not even basing it on that, because people, so you're really biased because he was rude to you. No. It's his television work. It's the jokes. It's the outfits. It's everything. It's everything about the dude. I'm sorry.
Yo, you're a grown man. You can't leave the house looking like that, bro.
Come on, bro. The dude's wearing ties the size of baseball bats and ill-fitting suits. I mean, and then his jokes, you know, and like the weird sexual chemistry between him and Katie Abdo. If you guys picked up on that too, he's like making these like, and it's like all awkward because he's really not into it.
You think he's smashing it? Is he smashing it?
Of course he's not smashing it. He's just making these awkward jokes, and it's like, bro, nobody's finding this funny, and you can clearly see this woman is awkward about it, as anybody would be.
You think Kate Abdul wants to smash or
No, she married to Barack.
They got married? I'm
pretty sure she married to Barack, ain't she?
I think she's dating him, but I don't know if she's married to him.
Whatever she was. Last time I checked, she was with Barack, so
still smash.
I want to also give my prediction, if I can. March 25th, I got Plant. I just think Plant is the better boxer.
Wow.
You know, I know, Beeb, you got Benavidez heavy, right?
You don't like Benavidez, man. You don't like Benavidez.
Well, I just think Plant is so much more skilled. He's a slick boxer. You know, if he could survive Benavidez, I mean, there's nothing that shows me that he can't survive Benavidez. Like you know, the Mexican Monster. I mean, this is gonna be a fight for the ages. I'm looking forward to this fight so much, but you know, I'm picking Plant by unanimous decision, and Ryan Garcia by unanimous decision, if it happens.
Wow, you on the record, Jesse?
Those are my picks.
I'm not hating them. They're not out of the realm of possibility. My issue with Benavidez, and I don't know how this has gone away as a theme when it relates to him in his career. Who has he beat really at a high level at 168 since struggling to make 168? You know, let's not forget he lost his titles on the scale. Caleb Plant is actually a higher level guy at 168 than the guys he's been beating up since the weight issues, right? Let's see what happens when he's in there with a guy who can take him into later rounds and who can make things kind of tricky and difficult. I think Benavidez is going to win the fight, but I'm not out here saying it's going to be like a one-sided blowout dominant proposition because I'm just not seeing that. I think Plant is going to make it difficult for him. And I honestly want to see how he's doing physically on weigh-in day. Personally.
Don't you think Benavidez is overlooking him a little with all this Canelo talk so early?
Yes and no, because I'd say yes, it does sound like that, but no, because he's also been calling for this fight for a really long time. And according to his father, he's conceded on every single major negotiating sticking point, from the money to who gets announced second and who walks out second and all of that other stuff. So I think he's pretty laser focused on the fight. No, but okay. That's just my opinion. I don't know. The fact is, I don't know. It's just an opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I agree. Yo, thank you guys for letting me come on. Yo, Beeb, like Radio Raheem said to Logan Paul, I love you, man. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that was funny. I'll tell you what I thought was really funny of that. Spencer on TalkSport, when he was doing his show with Simon Jordan, I'm talking about Spencer Oliver, right? Was critical of Radio Raheem being a sycophant towards the Paul brothers. And I'm like, are you really trying to act like we don't remember you literally consoling AJ after the Usyk loss?
Yeah, that was
I felt that was hilarious. That of all people, he's the one. Let me criticize Radio Raheem or Joe do it. I mean, Radio Raheem seemed like a decent dude, cool or whatever when I meet him in person. But do you really need to end every post-fight in-ring interview with "and Radio Raheem"? You know, I'm here with Joe Habib with Radio Raheem. Like every interview was ended like that. I mean, we get it. Your name's Radio Raheem. I get that. But you don't need to constantly remind us about it after every single interview. Anywho, any other thing to talk about, Joe?
I think we covered it, bro.
I think we covered it. So, guys, thank you for tuning in live with us today. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Consider joining a membership. Joe's memberships are actually very priced out well, so no excuses. And that's it.
All right, guys.
Any last words, Joe?
No, I mean, we got a good fight tonight, man. So at least this is not let Dan the Man. Let Dan the Man get his word in real quick.
Oh, okay, I didn't see him.
Oh, what's up, y'all? Thanks for having me on.
Nice to see you here, Dan. What's good?
I'm good, man. You guys about to get off right now?
Yeah, go ahead. Say your piece, though, man. Go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, man. Look, I heard you guys just with the conversations, the radio topics you were talking about. I just want to chime in real quick on the Theory Usyk situation. I know there's this argument, who's the A side, who's the B side, who should get what, who should get that, who should not get this, who should not tolerate this and that. Look, I know this has been going around in circles, but I will say this, though, but I just got to say what I have to say. At the end of the day, it's my opinion. I just think that Fury doesn't really, quote unquote, fancy the fight with Usyk. And the reason why I say that is because if he knows he can beat a guy, he will do whatever he can to make the fight possible. He'll talk the guy, he'll do what he has to do to make the fight. But for some reason, there's a different approach with Usyk. And I think there's a big worry there because Yeah, I mean, there's signs of this because during his time in Saudi, for some reason, Fury seems to be, in my opinion, be screening interviewers about questions about Usyk because he doesn't even want to talk about him. Like he'll let his team do the dirty work on that part. But other than that, why did all of a sudden did he reject the deal that the Saudis gave him for the Usyk fight? But Usyk was the one who signed on to the deal over almost more than a month ago. What's that all about? So.
Well, I actually spoke about that. I actually spoke about that, Dan, earlier in the show. I don't know if you were live with us at the time, but to me, it's pretty simple. To me, Usyk knew what he made last time around in Saudi against AJ in the rematch, whereas Fury is going off of what was reported in the media, and what was reported in the media about, 9-figure paydays for Joshua probably wasn't true. So when they offered him 40, 50, whatever million they offered, he was probably expecting more like 70 or 80 or 90 million. And Usyk, on the other hand, knew exactly what he made last time, so was quicker to accept the deal. That's just my theory on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I will say this, though. It also could be, if we have to say this, it could be ego, because at the end of the day, Tyson Fury is a big egomaniac, okay? And he probably believes in his world that he has a bigger commercial value than Anthony Joshua. And let's be realistic. I'm not the biggest Joshua fan. But Anthony Joshua has a bigger commercial value internationally than Tyson Fury. That's a fact. And Tyson Fury may not like that, but that's the truth. It may be the ugly truth in his world, but it is what it is. He will never have that same value as Joshua, despite the fact Joshua has the losses that he suffered. So that's something he's going to have to deal with. Now, if he really believes he could beat the guy, and undoubtedly this is his base payday of his career, take the fight. Then why would you call him a middleweight? You thought he said he's easy working. Why are you been trying so hard? It seems to me he's trying to find a way out of this fight because he knows how the fight may play out in his world. It's probably a tactic to either slow down the process to see if Usyk will slow down, or he truly doesn't want the fight, period, because he doesn't want to look bad against a guy who's very skilled, who's been around the block, who's beaten bigger men for years, who's done it since the amateur and WSB days.
Who would you pick in the fight, Dan? Who would you pick in the fight if it was signed?
I would slightly favor Usyk on this one because I think the fight's going to go. First 5 rounds, I think Fury's going to have some success. Then after that, Usyk's going to turn up the gear. Maybe not once, not twice, maybe 3 times. What I'm saying is that I think Usyk is going to present something that Fury's never seen before, something he will never be prepared for. And I think that's what he knows about, and I think that's what he's worried about. Because you have to also take into account Fury's legs are not the same anymore. They're not the same. He's not as fast as Usyk. And his coordination sometimes can be very sloppy and it's off. So I think he knows that, and I think he's trying to find a way out of that situation so that way he doesn't look like he's the one who's avoiding the fight. That's what it seems like to me. That's just my opinion.
All right. Fair enough.
Fair enough. And look, only time will tell, Dan. That's the truth here. Only time will tell. I just have a tough time believing that a guy who was obese and on drugs and lost in excess of 150 pounds and then took on Wilder at a point where everyone was fearful of him and talking about how crazy his punching power was and still is, that guy's afraid of a guy who fought Tony Bellew and went life or death with Derek Chisora. I just struggle to get there. I'm just gonna be real. I struggle to see how Fury would be afraid of that guy or trying to avoid it.
I get what you're saying on that. Look, at the end of the day, Tyson Fury deserves major credit for coming back from that horrid time when he had that banned the obese the obese situation, depression, come back and go to America, beat Wilder arguably 3 times, as people would say. Mm-hmm. He did that, and arguably the biggest heavyweight puncher in history. I get that. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, as a Wilder fan, I'll admit, Deontay is not as skillful, is not as crafty, is not as vastly experienced as Usyk. That's number one. He's not as fast as him. He doesn't have that coordination as him. And Fury has had the situation, and this is a true fact. He has done this many times where he's very calculative. He's very strategic. When he sees a situation where he knows he can win the fight, he'll take it. If he knows he's like, oh, you know what, I'm not in a situation I think I can beat this guy right now, then I'm going to wait till this process slows down to see if I have a better chance of beating him. I think this is what he's trying to do with Usyk. He's trying to see if there's any weaknesses or any chinks in the armor that he can exploit.
But we saw those. We saw those in the Chisora fight. Like Chisora was highly effective when he was on the inside, when he was going to the body. And to me, one of Tyson Fury's best attributes is being rough and rugged on the inside, leaning on you and going to the body. What do you think, Joe?
The big difference in this fight is Fury's versatility. Usyk is a good fighter, but Fury,
great fighter.
Fury has more dimensions, in my opinion. He can fight on the outside, the inside. He can counter punch. He can be aggressive. He can use the jab. He can make the fight ugly. And the word skill is objective. And for me, when I hear the word skill, I'm thinking who can do more things well. And I just think that Usyk is a mid-range guy for the most part. And I'm not minimizing that at all. But I don't think Usyk is comfortable fighting on the inside. Derek Chisora showed us that. And I think if Fury pulls this fight to the inside and makes it rough and rugged, I think it's a big problem. I think Fury stops Usyk, in my opinion. I honestly don't think it's as competitive as people think it's going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be a horrible fight, but I just think Fury is gonna manhandle Usyk. I really do.
Yeah, fair enough. But I will say this though: I looked at that Chisora fight many times, and I give Derek credit, but he didn't really land any clean punches in that fight, other than maybe a few body shots here and there. Let's be honest.
I disagree with that. I disagree.
Yeah, and even if I do agree with you about that it was just body shots, Fury's a very good body puncher. I mean, look at the second fight with Deontay Wilder. He knocked him down going to the body.
I had Usyk losing 5 rounds in that fight. I had it 7-5 for Usyk.
Yeah.
I thought it was razor. I had Bellew up against Usyk before he got knocked out. I mean, Bellew was hitting my hands.
That's what I meant.
I'm not going to disrespect Usyk at all, but I don't know, man. I mean,
well, let me say this, man. Fury, shout out to the guy in the chat. I was going to bring this up. Fury does struggle with small guys with faster movement. I see the Cunningham and guys who does fight awkward positions like Otto Wally. He struggled early on in those fights. He did. He even admit that.
How many rounds did you give Otto Wallin against Tyson Fury?
I would say maybe 4 rounds at best. 3. No more.
Right, so I'm giving him 2-3 rounds. 3 at most. In my definition of struggle, in a 12-round fight, that's not a struggle. That's
well, he almost got put out that 12th round while he hit him with a straight left, and Fury stumbled and was hurt momentarily with that shot in the last round. He was. Go back and look at that fight.
I saw Wallen almost get stopped in that. I saw Wallen almost get stopped in that 12th round.
Well, yeah, Wallen definitely almost got stopped in the fight, but so did Fury at that 12th round. If you saw that straight left that grew at Fury, Fury stumbled and he was hurt. He had to hold on in that round.
I must have missed.
He did. Take a look at it. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go. I mean, the concern was that it was going to get stopped because of the cuts, and by the way, he got laced. So I mean,
aside from the cut, but in that 12th round when Wally hit him with that straight left, Fury stumbled back a little bit. He had to hold on because the problem with Wally that he was smothering his punches at the end, so he didn't really.
This sounds a lot like these guys in the UK that were telling me that Anthony Yard badly hurt Beterbiev, and I don't know.
No, he didn't badly hurt him.
I missed that part of the fight. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't see it. It must have been so quick that I blinked when Beterbiev badly hurt Yard. That's how quick that moment must have been.
I will say this: Anthony Yard had his moments.
People love to bring up that. People love to bring up that Steve Cunningham fight from 2013, but let's look at the end result.
Bro, that was 10 years ago.
Fury hit him
10 years ago.
Well, let me finish.
Yeah.
Fury hit him with a right hand that sent him in orbit. I mean, And
yeah, I know he got the result at the end of the day, but he didn't. He admitted he struggled that fight, and he had troubles with guys who have better movement and faster.
okay, but it was a 5th round knockout, bro.
I thought it was 8th.
No, it was 5th round knockout. He stopped him in 5
Nah,
rounds.
that fight wasn't a 5th round. It was 8th round. It
was a 5th round knockout.
You sure?
I don't know. I don't know, Joe. I don't know if you can see the screen right now, but this is what I remember from that fight. I don't know.
Yeah, he won the fight.
That's kind of what I remember from that fight. Like, people want to remember the other thing, but this is how the fight ended.
Yeah, that's true. Let me say this, gentlemen.
We were both wrong. It was a 7th round knockout.
Yeah. Okay. I was close. Let me say this, gentlemen.
You were closer than me.
Yeah. Fair enough, man. But let me say this, gentlemen. In all respect, let me say this, gentlemen. Usyk is not Steve Cunningham. I like USS Cunningham, but he's no Steve Cunningham. And another thing I would say too is that Usyk is a very good inside fighter. I've seen him do it against Michael Hunter. I've seen him do it against Lars.
He's not an inside.
Yeah, I did see that. Yes, he is.
He's a mid-range guy, bro. He's not an inside fighter.
Yeah, you see those 2 fights with Breedis and Hunter? He did that against those 2 guys. He fought him in the inside.
And go back and watch what he did. Every time the guy got close, he slid. Usyk always steps back and steps around you when you get close to him.
Joe, can I ask a question?
He doesn't stand in the pocket with you, bro.
Joe, I'd like to ask a question, and this is for the whole audience. Guys, have a look at your screens. What looks worse, this or this? I mean, I think this looks a lot worse than that. Which looks worse to you, Joe?
Usyk's been knocked down by body shots, bro.
I mean, this or this. I don't know, this or this. I'm not seeing what everybody else is seeing here. I'm just not seeing it. I'm sorry.
Usyk's been knocked down by body shots in the pros. He's been
Against who? Against who? I haven't seen it.
I can show you the video.
All right. Was it against Milwaukee? Was a slip? Was that one? That one you mentioned? No. Yeah, that was a slip on that one.
Usyk knocked down by body shots.
All right. I mean, I know it happened in the averages against Peterbia, and I think against Nestor, but other than that, who else?
Alexander Usyk, all knockdowns, all moments when Usyk got stunned.
Okay. Yeah, so let's bring it up.
And I could show you. Let me send it to Maestro because this is a mix of amateurs and pros. Let me send it to Maestro. Maestro can put it up on the screen.
All right, let me just say this, guys. Look, if that fight happens, and I hope it does, but I think we're going to be in a big surprise with Alexander Usyk because I think he possesses more tools than Tyson Fury. He's probably going to show something that we've never seen.
Why? Fury can go southpaw, orthodox. He can fight on the inside, outside.
Fury's a natural southpaw. I'll always remember an interview with Freddie Roach where he was saying that he hits with more power from the southpaw stance, but he fights orthodox because he wants to have a really strong jab.
Usyk is a mid-range ambush fighter, in and out guy. He's not doesn't fight like Fury.
Well,
Here it is. He just got knocked down by a body shot. Oh my God!
Against who?
The sad part about it is I don't know who the guy's name is. That's bad.
Was it in the pro?
That's
was
bad.
it in the pro?
Watch.
That looked like it hurt. That looked like it. No, that was not. That wasn't the amateurs. This isn't the amateurs. That's the pros. That's the pros.
The amateurs. Trust me, guys.
That's not the amateurs. Oh, that's the World Boxing Super. World Series of Boxing. World Series of Boxing.
That's World.
Yeah, that was World Series of Boxing. That was not the pros, man.
That's the pros. Those are pro.
I'm telling you, listen to me.
Watch.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
That last one was the pros, though, for sure.
The last one was the pros. Another body shot.
That was a slip I can walk you. Look, that was a slip.
Wow.
That was a slip. Indeed. That was
okay. Guys, I gotta break this up because we've been live for well over 2 hours now, and I actually have to take care of natural bodily functions and other things. All right,
guys.
Dan's trying to say that fights with no headgear and small gloves are amateur fights. Dan, come on, you're better than that.
Dan, thank you for joining us today.
Come on, Dan.
All right,
Dan,
guys.
thank you for joining us today. So continue supporting the channel. All right, I hope to see you on my channel too, and we'll see you again soon.
Dan,
all right, no problem. I'll subscribe to your channel, brother. I'll get on, man.
Thank you. That's it, Joe. We gotta go.
He got knocked down by a guy that I don't know with a body shot.
That's Nestor, bro. Yeah, Nestor. That's an amateur.
That's worse than me knowing it, Dan. That's worse than me knowing it.
The WSB does not count for pro records, bro. That's an amateur record. You should know that. Even though they don't fight with X here, that is true. Yes, it is. That goes on your amateur record. If you beat that, if you win the WSB, that goes on your amateur record. Look at the amateur record. Joe Joyce is on Usyk's record as an amateur. They fought in the WSB. That's the only time they fought there.
World Series of Boxing, pros or not?
World Series of Boxing is amateurs. It's semi-pro, but they consider it amateur.
Is WBS boxing amateurs? It's not.
It is amateurs. It is. Even though
it was a little bit of a scandal when it first came out because people did think that they should count on pro records, but they ended up not counting on pro records. But they were essentially pro fights between high-level amateur fighters.
Dan, we're both
That's what they were.
Why, Dan? We're both right because they weren't amateur fights, but they weren't counted as the pros either.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's my point. So with that said, they count that as an amateur fight. If you look at their records, that was my point. I get what your point.
It doesn't go on either record, Dan. I look at.
Yes, it does.
I'll pull up Usyk's record, and those will not be on there. I'm telling you, Dan.
Okay, let's bring it up. Let's go ahead and bring it up, brother. You might be right, but let's see.
Let's move on because, like I said, it's time to close things up a little bit now.
Yeah, let's close up. I want to make one final point real quick before we close up, man. I see Brian in the box in the chat. Brian and the boxer talking to chat. Shout out to him. I will say this though. He said that Ruiz, White, and Wilder. I guess you could throw Perry in there so they trouble Usyk. Not saying they won't, but the last time we said that, look what happened to Anthony Joshua twice. So I just want to throw that out there because many people said that Joshua broke the Usyk based off his 2 fights at heavyweight, and we saw the end result. So don't underestimate that guy. That's all I got to say. Don't underestimate him.
There you go. Look, Brian saying you got to put your money where your mouth is when the fight happens. That's what he's asking.
Fair enough. I will do that.
All right. Dan, thank you for joining us, brother. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Thanks, guys, for having me on, man.
All right.
Till next time.
You too.
Don't be a stranger, Dan. Come back.
So Joe, I think that's it because you didn't want to talk any more about that subject right there, right? So any more about that or no? We're not talking about this guy, right?
How am I reaching with the body shot stuff? Did I did not show he got knocked down by body shots?
Yeah, you did. I mean, his thing.
There was 2 knockdowns. We got knocked down by body shots. I mean, how is that reaching? That's a lie.
Yeah.
Is that a lie?
No, it's not. No, I mean his thing was that the World Series of Boxing shouldn't count. But
semi-pros. All right, whatever. All right, so we'll count fights from 2013. We'll count fights from 10 years ago then. I mean, again, it's a fight with small gloves and no headgear, bro. It's the same thing, bro. I mean, we can nitpick all we want. Again, the guy got knocked down by body shots.
He did.
It's a fact. He got knocked down by Breedis.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to say? I mean, the guy.
Well, I'm sorry, but he struggled with Derek Chisora. People may not want to concede that or acknowledge that, but
struggled with Tony
Bellew. Okay, so. I mean, it is what it is, guys. But Joe, I gotta.
All right, man.
Yeah, but thank you everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm actually gonna post my YouTube in the chat in case any of you are not subscribed. I also want you to support other people that support us, like my brother Bass the Kid, who's in the chat right now. Support Bass. He's got some of the best content out there as well. He's part of the team All right, but that's my YouTube right there. All right, Maestro A. You already know Joe Habib. Hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Joe, last word to you.
I just got to challenge Base, man. You have to admit reality, bro. Like, he was up on the scorecards, Bellew, before he got stopped. Bellew was up on the scorecards before he got stopped. And Chisora lost the fight by 2 rounds. He lost the fight 115 and 113 on the judges' scorecards. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Those are close fights, man. I mean, I'm just dealing with reality.
Look, unfortunately, Joe, people don't always deal in reality.
You have to deal with reality.
We live in a world where this guy on my left or on my right on the screen is a hero. So it is what it is. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your Saturday.